Legend of Zelda. It's an alright series.
Huh?
Yeah, don't tell anyone, but this might be my favorite game franchise of all time. And I find it to be a complete sin that I haven't talked about it yet. Well, here we are. I'm finally gonna talk about my favorite gaming franchise. No, my favorite franchise ever. I've put this video on and off between writing a script, playing the games, and ranking them. I don't know why it took me this long considering there's 7 3D Zelda games. Anyhow, this franchise, dude, is so dear and near to my heart. And you would be pleasantly surprised that I don't consider any of these games to be bad. Hell, all of these games rank from 8 out of 10 onwards. So that's how you know you have a good lineup. Anyway, let's finally talk about this legendary franchise and its 7 3D releases. Let's rank all the 3D Zelda games. I remember back in the days I started to get into the franchise. I saw this game called The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I thought it looked really cool with Wolf Link and all of that, but I never got to play it during my adolescent years. Years later, I got to play it, and it was an experience unlike any other. Why am I telling you this? Because I played Skyward Sword first. Yeah, Skyward Sword seems to be agreed upon that it's the weakest 3D game in the series, and there's multiple reasons why. The backtracking is annoying, Fi isn't an interesting companion, the game has the necessity of doing unnecessary shit just to justify the runtime. The tadpoles, the imprisoned, single-handedly the worst boss in 3D Zelda history. And you can make the argument for it being the worst in the series. And probably unpopular opinion, but I don't hate the motion controls. They're functional. Hell, I find them to be really fun. Swinging the sword going shoo 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 shoo. It's epic. However, for everything that it does wrong, it certainly does a lot of things right. And I want to start with the obvious. Zelda is the best she's ever been here. I love this Zelda with all my heart. I would die for this Zelda. The game establishes a connection between Link and Zelda we have never seen up to this point. This relationship between them is honestly adorable. Speaking of Link, this Link is kind of underrated considering he has everything that makes a Link good. He's pretty expressive, he has funny moments, he's also weirdly based. Actually, I want to mention something from this game, and that's its characters. This game's characters are really charming and super lovable. This cast of characters are my second favorite in the franchise, and you'll see what's my favorite. You might be thinking I'm missing some characters. That's right, I forgot probably the greatest character in the series, Groose, with his iconic song. This character has absolutely everything. The design, the theme, the hair, and his own character arc, going from an asshole bully to his own hero. It's honestly really satisfying to see. The villain Girahim is also really fun. He reminds me of a classic Disney villain, which is pretty epic. Shit, man, I had a lot to say about the characters alone. Let's see what else is there. The soundtrack?
I just my pants!
Oh baby. Easily my favorite soundtrack in the series. It has a little bit for everyone. From the iconic Groose theme to the beautiful moments in the sky where we talk with our bestie slash lover, to Fi's beautiful theme song. Shit, man, this soundtrack has it all. I find it weird how only 2 songs from the soundtrack made it to Smash Ultimate when there's so much you could pick from. But nah, let's pick 1 song and remix 1 song. Isn't that great? Graphically speaking, it's one of the prettiest Zelda games ever, dude. Nothing much I can say aside from that. And the side quests are probably my second favorite in the series as well. They are also fun, like the Pumpkin Soup House quest, to name a few, or the Giant Monster where we get gratitude tokens. They're also sweet. Oh, and those boss fights are all so fun. Mostly. Yeah, man. Despite my huge annoyances with the game, I still really like it. The good clearly outweighs the bad, and it's a Zelda game I come back to revisit from time to time. And please, Nintendo, I am begging you, bring Groose back! The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. One of the biggest and most important games in the series. The entire history of this game is quite interesting. First gonna be released for the Wii U, but was released for both the Wii U and the Switch. Kind of like Twilight Princess releasing for the GameCube and the Wii. We truly went full circle here. I remember when Breath of the Wild was being advertised. I just got into the series around 2016 and was thinking, yeah, it looks cool, but I'm not that interested because I was a bad boy and wanted to be different. I didn't get to play the game until like 1 year after the game was released because a friend of mine at the time sold it to me for $30, which he was so real for that. I still remember seeing Hyrule after getting out of that cave. It was unlike anything I have ever seen in a video game, at that point at least, and I was in love with it. The feeling of loneliness, the music going perfectly with the atmosphere. It was really cool. Almost 7 years later, holy shit, this game is about to be 7 years old. What do I think of the game nowadays? Especially with Tears of the Kingdom out. Well, I still really love the game, but there are quite some problems with it, and I'll get into it right now. Let's get to my minor problems first. The shrines. I'm not huge on them. Some can be fun to solve, but for the most part, they are extremely easy and boring. And that's a problem still seeing in Tears of the Kingdom, but more on that later. I did not connect with the townspeople, which to me, when it comes to a Zelda game, is a big issue. When I play a Zelda game, I want to meet people, form bonds, and connect with them, making me care for them. There's good characters too, you don't get me wrong. Sidon is absolutely lovable. And I was absolutely devastated when he was claimed by the heroes despite Link riding inside him first! Teba was pretty cool. We got to fly with him, and he reminded me of Falco for some reason. Riju was fine, but kind of boring in this game. And Junobu... But back to my criticism. The characters outside the main ones aren't that interesting. Another thing that isn't interesting, the boss fights. Man, these have got to be the most disappointing boss fights in the series. They are mostly the same and super easy. And Ganon? Well, Ganon was also extremely easy too. Easy, too easy in fact. For having such an amazing build-up, he sure faded on the boss fight department. Something I also don't vibe with the game are the Divine Beasts. One of the main reasons you play a Zelda game is the temples, which sadly are extremely lackluster. However, I do find it really cool how you can control the Divine Beast. That's pretty cool. I also absolutely hate it when it rains. I'm having a good climb and then it rains! Also, weapons break and the Master Sword loses power. What the hell is that about? But yeah, I guess that's it for my criticism. Let's get to the positives now. Like I mentioned earlier, the main characters are all good. Sidon is great, Teba is good, Riju is fine, Junobu is Junobu. However, if I want to get into the characters, I also have to talk about the story, which I am personally a fan of. People say that Breath of the Wild doesn't have a story, and that is true! If you go straight to Ganon, that is. This incarnation of Link starts out with no memories. Who's Zelda? Who are the champions? Ganon? No clue. That's where the main themes of the game start. Loneliness. Finding yourself again. The entire world has been destroyed by this asshole called Calamity Ganon. And along the way, Link must restore his memories and save the souls of the champions. I won't get into the story because that's not what this is, but I do like this story and the main themes of loneliness, failure and meeting impossible expectations and self-discovery. Speaking of characters, the champions are so good. I love every one of them, even Rivali, or how I call him, Ravioli. Mipha is the most heartbreaking one because we know Link likes the taste of fish. But because they're star-crossed lovers, they can't be together. Daruka is a freaking G, gotta love him. Urbosa is... yeah. Ravioli is an asshole, but in an endearing way. And all we're left is with the titular character, Zelda. One of the most interesting depictions of the character, in my opinion. We are used to a Zelda full of wisdom and being a somewhat badass and having her shit together. However, this Zelda is more human. If I had to pick, she would be my second favorite depiction of Zelda. Her guilt for not finding her power is really compelling. And she holds down Ganon for 100 years, hello? She's also an ultra badass! All we are left is with Link. Well, he's Link. Look, if you weren't gonna have him talk, at least have him do sign language. I feel like that would have been pretty cool. That's it for the characters! Let's talk about costumes. They're pretty good. Hell, if you download the DLC, there's extra costumes for Link, like Majora's mask, Tingle's outfit, Midna's helmet, and who can forget Ravio's hood. Hey Nintendo, why didn't you give us anything for Grooves? Like, why? Cowards! The enemies are a mixed bag for me. I love fighting the Linos, but aside from those, The art style and character designs are absolutely perfection. I have never wanted to fuck a fish up until this game.
You what?
And of course, I can't miss the music. Honestly, kinda underrated. Lol, what music? Well, maybe if you shut your mouth and listened, you will be able to find it. Anyway, the music for the memories are great, the songs that play when you ride the horse is cute, the music when you fight Dark Beast Ganon is phenomenal, the music for Hyrule Castle is as climactic as it can get, and can't forget about... What the fuck? Wait, what? No, wait. Get away from me! I remember I kept seeing people online being completely mixed on this game. Some call it an underrated masterpiece, while others call it a bad game. Can you guess where I fall into? Of course, I absolutely adore this game. Back when I got into the franchise, I was so excited to play this but never got the chance. Until I learned how to emulate. I had the power in my hands. I do have some problems with the game. Again, this game is not perfect after all. The art style, while cool at times, nowadays it can look a little bit muddy and pretty ugly. Except for some characters like Link, Midna, Ganondorf and all that. I don't particularly love this iteration of Zelda. I honestly found her to be quite boring, which is a shame. Her design is fine too, I guess. I just didn't really connect with her. I'm not a huge fan of Wolf Link and its gameplay, despite me thinking it was gonna be something similar to Unleashed, at the time at least. The boss fights... Okay, this is where it's gonna get controversial. The boss fights aren't that memorable to me. I can count with one hand the bosses that really stick out in my mind. Star-Lord and Ganondorf come to mind. But for the little things I personally don't like from this game, there's also a lot of fantastic things in this game that really connected with me and wish we got more to see it in Zelda games. Right off the bat, I want to mention how much I love this Link. An actual descendant from a Link that we already know, the hero of time. We get to see what happened to our dear Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and how the hero has fallen. I always consider the hero Shade to be the most tragic character in this series, easily. the hero of time who causes 3 different timelines. The adult timeline, where he disappeared and Hyrule sank. The timeline where he was defeated by Ganon, which, now that I think about it, that timeline is actually not that bad. And the child timeline. We are playing in the child timeline here. The hero shade is my second favorite character in this game. They really hit it outside of the park with this one. Speaking of child timeline, the way they did Ganondorf in this game was rather smart. Imprisoned, only to then escape by using the Triforce of Power, because he's just that guy. Speaking of characters, I feel like I'm missing someone. Oh yeah, Link's sister! She gets kidnapped. Lama, what an idiot. Okay, let's talk about Midna. I don't think this is an unpopular opinion. I think everyone can agree here. I hope. She's easily the best companion in the franchise. She's spunky, funny, sarcastic, and an overall joy. But there's also her great character arc and her growth in the story, making her stand out compared to other companions in the series. My ass could not be the hero of Twilight. But we also have such an exquisite and beautiful soundtrack in our hands. This might be one of the most unique soundtracks in the series. Going from something soothing to something that sounds legit fun and energetic to sinister. And of course, who could forget Ganondorf? The music that plays when you fight him might be the best final boss theme in the series. And probably the best final boss fight as well. It's not my favorite, but it's probably the best one looking back. That ending absolutely destroyed me. When I played it the first time, I thought we finally had one companion who could stay with us in the end. But like all companions, before her, she leaves. And I was absolutely devastated. I even shed a tear like a true macho. Truly beautiful. I really like Twilight Princess. If you couldn't tell, its highs are some of the highest in the franchise. I really love this franchise, dude. Remember when people thought this game looked bad because the art style was unlike what they were expecting? I don't. I wasn't a fan of the franchise when this came out. I didn't even know what a GameCube was. But yeah, I played this game a couple years ago and thought it was undeniably charming. For me, art style is better than realism, so of course, I fell in love with this game. I think the art style is the best in the series here. It's cute, full of life, and vibrant. I adore it. Before I keep gushing over the game, I do want to mention some problems I have with it. The Triforce Hunt. Now, I've seen people defend this, and that's okay, I can see the appeal. However, it's not for me. There are quite a lot of moments where you can feel the content from this game, like, where's my third Sage dungeon? Where's my Jabun dungeon? Where's my content? I could say that because of the time constraints for the game, they had to cut a lot of stuff. However, Majora's Mask also had a very strict time of release, and the development was also hell. Yet the game is amazing. I also feel like the game could have used more islands. The ocean is gigantic, so having more islands would have been appreciated. Wind Waker's world is huge, but I don't feel like the game has that many meaningful tasks. This might be a me thing, but I'm not a fan of playing a song just to change the direction of the wind. I know it's the Wind Waker, but come on. Yeah, that's about it for my complaints. Now everything else! Okay, I want to mention how Link is pretty much a pirate in this game. Pirates are so damn cool! The characters are all so lovable. Tetra is so cool! And don't you love that once she becomes Zelda, she's pretty much useless? That's so cool, eh? She is definitely one of the best characters in the game. Her crew is so nice, every last one of them. I am especially a big fan of Link in this game. He raised the bar too damn high for any other Link in the franchise, and no one has been able to dethrone him as the best in the series. You gotta love how expressive he is, or his great voice lines, or just how adorable he is. I mean, just look at him! but he is also one of the most badass in the series. He is the one who ends Ganondorf once and for all. Yeah, the same Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. Man, what a kid! Speaking of badass, you guys love temples, right? Well, let me tell you, the temples in this game are an absolute delight. One of the best in the series, in my opinion. The temples here, although really easy, probably the easiest in the series if you really think about it, are all really fun. Come on, you're gonna tell me Dragon Roost Cavern isn't your top 7 favorite dungeons in the series? Oh, and the Tower of the Gods, probably my favorite in the game because we get the sword that gets shit done, the Master Sword. Yeah, I guess the only dungeon I don't particularly love is the Forsaken Fortress, oddly enough. But other than that, great stuff. And again, I must reiterate, look at Link! He's so good! How can you not love this game? Here's something that I think it's perfect though. No surprise to anyone, the music. This soundtrack can range from adorable to badass so seamlessly. The music when you sail is fantastic. The Forest Temple is underrated. Outset Island is adorable and a great introduction to this game. The legendary hero is full of wonder. Even Grandma gets her own theme. That's adorable. And of course, can't forget about Dragon Roost Island. The best track in the game, one of the best in the entire franchise. This game is pretty awesome. Yeah, this game is great. There's not much I could say. I mean, it's a miracle this game is as good as it is considering the circumstances. But yeah, that's all I can say about Wind Waker. Stan it. Wind Waker Link is best Link. Editing the video, I sorta kinda forgot to talk about the boss fights for Wind Waker. And yeah, I am sorry about that. I meant to say that the boss fights, they are actually really good. Some that really stand out is Puppet Ganon. I actually really like his design. It's epic. And the final boss fight with Ganondorf is either the second best in the series or the third best in the series. It's really, really good, and I really, really like it. The music is very climactic, and I really like that Link stabs Ganondorf in the head. That's so cool. I want more Zelda games where Link stabs Ganondorf in the head, just like in the game that's next. Yeah, let's get to number 3. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the latest game in the Zelda series. Holy crap, was the wait killing us all! The wait was so long that we even got a Skyward Sword HD. 6 long years for this game to release. And it's been almost a year by the time of recording this. And let me tell you, this game blows Breath of the Wild completely out of the water. It's not even funny. Just like Mario Galaxy 2 before this, Tears of the Kingdom was just DLC for Breath of the Wild. But, because the people at Nintendo kept thinking of many ideas, they decided they would do a sequel. And honestly, they are so real for that. Although the map is the same as in Breath of the Wild, it still somehow feels a lot bigger and expansive. But before I keep going with the positives, and trust me, there's a lot of positives, let me just go through the negatives real quick. Don't worry, there's not much. Kinda. Of course, since this game is relatively new, this is the game I'm gonna talk about the most in this ranking, so apologies for that. Like I said, the world of Tears of the Kingdom is ginormous. The biggest it's ever been. Probably too big if you ask me. There's 2 new places to explore. The sky and the depths. And I have some positives as well as some negatives respectively. The sky. This was advertised a lot, and it was the main thing I was mostly excited for. The beginning of the game is honestly perfect. A great introduction to the mechanics of the game. and slowly but surely getting your abilities with your messed up arm. The Sky Islands are cool. However, there's a big problem with them. They're really limited and there's barely any islands, which makes me sad because just like a lot of people, I was extremely excited to play on them. I feel like the sky could have been bigger and it wouldn't have hurt the game. The depths. Man, what a great first impression. I literally jumped on one of the holes expecting to have my glider. I didn't. It was really funny. However, I did find my glider and went into it once again. The music is ambient and it fills me with dread. It was a rather unsettling beginning, which was something I was a fan of. However, unlike the sky, which is small and there's not much to do, there is a whole lot to do in the depths. A little too much for my liking. Yeah, I'm gonna say it, they overdid it with the depths. It should have been way smaller than what it actually is. Ironic, I know. And those feelings of excitement and dread don't hit the same as time passes. To this day, at the time of recording at least, I haven't completed the whole map for the depths. And can you really blame me? Something I was super excited for was the fact they would bring temples back. Real, honest to God temples! We have quite a number too. Wind, lightning, fire, water, and soul. All of them being unique to each other. The fire temple I found to be really fun. Lightning was a bit confusing at first, but it wasn't hard. Wind was probably my favorite in the game with such a great music piece to accompany it. Water temple... was super easy. Like, almost brain dead levels of easy. Super disappointing if you ask me. And the Spirit Temple... Look, it wasn't even a temple. The hell was that? Yeah, the temples for me aren't the most interesting in the series, and some are really underwhelming, but I enjoy them somewhat. However, the game definitely did not lack on something, unlike Breath of the Wild. The bosses! The bosses were a huge step up from Breath of the Wild. They are fun, they have great music, I can fight alongside my fish husbando Sidon. Never mind, this game is number one. This game is number one now. I will get into the final boss, but I'll save that for later, believe me, I will. One of the things I wasn't particularly a big fan of was the shrines. And they are back for this game! Yay! Actually, there's a whole lot more in this game than in Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild, there were like 120 maybe? In Tears of the Kingdom though, there's 151. Now that may seem a lot, cause it is. There's different types of shrines in this game. Normal puzzle ones, which I think are better than in Breath of the Wild, but aren't my favorite. There are the Proving Grounds, which are my favorite. They take everything away from you and you must fight like a real man. Reminds me of Metal Gear Solid, which is really fun. No notes. And then there's Raru's Blessing. That's about it. They're serviceable, I guess. Now, I won't do a review on the story. That's not what this video is about. But I've seen plenty of people being pretty disappointed with it, and I can see why. Some resolutions are kind of disappointing, and it's a pretty confusing story, all things considered. I wouldn't really call this a great story, and it's a step down from Breath of the Wild in my opinion. However, there's moments in it that I fell in love, which I'll get into later again. We got some new abilities. Ascend! My personal favorite to use. You're in trouble fighting enemies? Don't sweat it! Just fly away from them. It can be used to cheese some shrines and temples, but I never used them in temples, so it's fine. Ultra Hand, a great use. You can unite things together and it's a whole lot of fun. I don't use this a lot, but when I do, it's ultra fun. I am so sorry. Recall. Oh hell yeah! I screwed up at a specific thing. Well, now I can do a Zelda! And in turn, do a do-over. So useful, and can lead to many funny moments. Fuse! The weapons are still breakable, which is a shame. However, with this baby, we fuse either a shield or melee weapon, and it can be strong as hell. Now with a shield, if you combine it with a minecart, you basically made a skateboard. That's pretty awesome. I really love that. Auto build. Yep, it's exactly what it is. It builds for you, which is convenient. Yeah, I mentioned all the abilities because they can either be a great use or a detriment, depending on who you ask. The soundtrack. While using some pieces from Breath of the Wild, it has some original music. The main theme of the game is honestly perfect. My favorite in the series. I could listen to it for hours. Some of the boss themes are outstanding. Gorgera is amazing. Whoa, how they cooked? They really cooked. The final boss theme? Holy crap! It also has some quiet pieces. For example, when you're gliding, peaceful and relaxing. Hateno Village is still charming. And of course, when you get the Master Sword. Fantastic! Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom might actually have my third or second favorite soundtrack in the series. To end the Tears of the Kingdom segment, let's talk about the final boss. Ganondorf! Okay. Oh, I don't know where to start with this. Holy crap. Is this such a big improvement over Calamity Ganon in every single way? The build-up for Calamity was great, but underwhelming in the end. Here though, it's amazing through and through. We start our battle with Ganondorf in a one-on-one duel, and it's really easy until... What is going on? The second phase, while challenging, is 100% possible, believe me. Then in the end, is between Ganondorf and me. And once you defeat him, he eats his chain and turns into a dragon. What the flip? Unlike Zelda, who did it for the good of Hyrule, this motherfucker is doing it because he can't defeat a twink. And then Zelda in dragon form comes to our rescue, and we get the best final boss fight in the series. At least, well, it's my favorite. Sure, the final part is easy, but holy shit, if it isn't cinema. We defeat Dragon Ganon, and we think it's over. But that's not it. We also stab that bitch in the head, and we think it's over. However, at first I did not like this because I didn't get it, but like, looking back and all the gameplay, yeah, it makes sense. Zelda turns into a human again. Weird, considering she ate the necklace and couldn't go back. Which is, I guess, fine, because they probably didn't know. That shit don't matter. Link has to save Zelda. And I'm thinking to myself, please let me save her. And the game lets me do that. This is cinema! All while the main theme of the game hits and we managed to do it all. All while being a parallel to the beginning of the game where we couldn't save her. Only that this time we actually do catch her. This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal. Man, this game can be hype when it wants to. It has some dumb moments in the story, I admit. The gameplay can be a little bit repetitive. There's a lot of moments where I hated the game. But at the end of the day, I still love this game. And if you consider this a soft reboot, you'll probably enjoy it a bit more. I think this is the Zelda game I'm somehow more passionate for some reason, despite not being my favorite. Damn! I had that much to say about Tears of the Kingdom, and it was number 3. I wonder which game is number 2. Back in the year 2021, I was going through a lot of personal things. I lost friends, family members. My mental health was at an all-time low, and basically no will to live, to put it simply. It wasn't until October of that same year where I finally got to play for the first time The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And that's where things clicked for me. Majora's Mask is one of the most important games I have ever played in my life. In a time where I was depressed, sad, full of melancholy, I managed to find hope and the will to live again. And part of that is thanks to Majora's Mask. The whole theme of the game just resonated with me. The story, the characters, the gameplay, the music. It all just reminded me that there's a lot to life. Because that's what this game is. Life. And finding hope despite the circumstances. Take for example, Darmani. Died protecting his people, but wasn't able to save him. So his soul does not get to rest until you play the Song of Healing in one of the best scenes not only in the game, but in the series. Another example, and the most well-known side quest, not only in the game, not only in the series, but one of the most well-known side quests in gaming, and my favorite in the franchise, the Cafe and Anju side quest. Admittedly, it can be hard, and sometimes annoying in your first playthrough, but it's all worth it when in the end, you see the two lovers reunited, despite the fact that everything will be reset. And they'll probably won't remember this. But for the time being, they're happy, knowing that they'll be in each other's arms until death does its part. It's single-handedly the most beautiful and well-written scene in the entire game. And there's multiple moments where the game is expertly written like this. Like the toilet hand side quest! Yeah! Despite the game's amazing writing filled with death, denial, hopelessness, this game is also really funny. The toilet hand side quest, like I mentioned, the dancing side quest that it starts out kinda sad and ends up being funny. I just like Link doing them moves. Look at that swagger. And speaking of funny and death, let's talk about the characters. Easily my favorite characters in the series. Sure, most of them are just from Ocarina of Time, but with their personalities and names changed. But I just feel like they are expertly written. And I almost forgot to mention, Zelda is in the game, but only in one scene, which I think was for the best. There's no way to actually have Zelda in this story without it being convoluted. So I think what they did with her is fine here. There's also some important characters that appear in Ocarina of Time that also appear in this game, but before we get there, let's talk about our newest companion, Taro. Did you like Navi? No? Well, fine. Here's another fairy, but she does help, and is kind of funny? Tail, her brother, is fine. If it wasn't for him, we won't know where to go, so that's based. Okay, now let's talk about the two Ocarina of Time characters. Skull Kid, the semi-antagonist of the game. I say antagonist for a very specific reason, and I want you to guess. Appeared in Lost Woods for a cute side quest, and that's about it. The writer said, okay, how about we make this weird little kid on crack an actual good and tragic character? And boom! Skull Kid. The other being the Happy Mask Salesman. Talk about being a creepy yet funny character. This asshat is responsible for losing Majora to the Skull Kid, and we must help him get his mask back. By the time we do that, he does put in perspective what his true motives were and disappears.
My planet needs me.
He doesn't do much in the whole story, but man, did he leave an impact on me and gamers. So much so that his famous quote, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" is synonymous with the band Drown creepypasta. Yeah, I had to mention the damn creepypasta. Can't help it. When you think of Majora's Mask, you also think of Ban Drown. Which, by the way, what the fuck is that? That's so creepy! That's something the game also does greatly. The atmosphere and feel of the game can be creepy. What? From the moment when Link transformed into a Deku Scrub, to the destruction of the world, from Pamela's father, to the moon? What the hell is that? Why the hell is that? The game is just oozing with scary shit like that. I talked about a lot of things. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah, the ocarina. The ocarina is ironically more useful in this game than it is in Ocarina of Time, because unlike that game, you use it to actually travel through time. Although, you better save your rupees in the bank or else you lose them. Don't ask how that works. Is there something I'm missing? Oh yeah, the music is absolutely perfect. Everything in this soundtrack gives me the feeling of dread and uneasiness. Like Termina's Third Day, the 4 locations, and the music that is without a doubt the most depressing song in the series, Final Hours. I'm telling you, seeing some people accepting fate, running away while this plays, it's chilling. And I can't forget about my favorite song in the whole game. I can't think of this song without getting instant chills. Sure, the song returns Link to normal, but that's not it. It may not be able to heal the people that have died, but it at least puts them at ease. Simply beautiful. I have been talking a lot about story, characters, and music, but not about the dungeons. I like them, but they're not particularly my favorite. Which is fine, the story and characters are enough to carry the games. However, I want to talk about a standout. Stone Tower is my personal favorite in the game. It's so creative. Anyway, we should probably go to number 1. This video is long enough that it is. Huh? Oh yeah! The villain! The villain that is named around the game! Majora's Mask! No joke, this is my favorite villain in the series. This little bitch is literally responsible for every bad thing that's happening in Termina, including the moon thing, which by the way, I want to add that I feel so terrible for the moon. Even though it's about to destroy the world, it doesn't want to, and it let us know by crying. All of this because of this damn mask! Well yeah, with a phenomenal villain like that, rich characters, fantastic soundtrack, and life-changing story, what could possibly be number 1? Hi, it's me, Shunk from the future once again, editing the video. I realized I forgot to talk about the boss fights once again. Yeah, they are pretty decent. Let's go to number 1. Ocarina of Time is highly regarded as the greatest video game of all time. And when I played the game for the first time around 2016, which was also when I got into the series, I got it. It really clicked with me how special not only this game was, but how special the series itself is. I don't know where to start with this game. I remember my experience to this day. I had the game, I was having fun, I loved exploring Hyrule, I loved how the beginning felt like a big happy adventure. It was really charming. I woke Talon up with a rooster, and that's epic. I saved my Goron brothers from certain death. I even got engaged, which was against my will. How could you not love the game? And then it happened. I got Zelda's Ocarina and said, screw the ocarina my friend gave me, who cares? I got the Master Sword and was thinking, hell yeah, I'm OP! And then 7 years passed. I saw Link as a young adult and thought that this couldn't get any worse. There was no one to stop Ganondorf in the main timeline. And that's what happened. Shit. We lost. Ganondorf won. And this is where the main theme of the game comes in. Growing up, facing our consequences head on, alone, with no one else, except our second companion in the game, Sheik. His theme hit the feelings of nostalgia and familiarity, something we could definitely use. Speaking of characters, I want to say that for the most part they're funny, but not that important. The main characters that matter are Link, Ganondorf, Zelda, and Sheik. Huh? What do you mean Sheik is Zelda? Anyway, these are the characters that matter. Can't believe it. Sheik is Zelda? I admit that the characters from other games are better, but these are also really sweet. Saria is a great friend. Ruth is sassy but fun. Darunia is great. Impa is cool. They're pretty solid. The characters aren't the strongest part of the game, however. The gameplay is the strongest part. The temples, I gotta say, are my favorite in the entire series, bar none. Actually, if I made a top 5 right now, Shadow Temple and Spirit Temple are right there, with Snow Peak, Ancient Cistern, and of course, Hyrule Castle from Breath of the Wild. Does that count? I'm gonna count it. The music is honestly good. Not great, but good, which is odd to say. But it does have some great tracks like Lost Woods, Hyrule Field, Ganon's Battle, and of course, the Crown Jewel. Oh wait, wrong song. Gerudo Valley. I really wish I could talk more about Ocarina of Time and how it changed 3D gaming forever. I wish I could talk more about the story. I wish I could talk more about everything. Sadly, I am out of time. But all I can say is, Ocarina of Time is in my top 2 favorite video games of all time. And maybe possibly, I will dedicate a video on it. But for now, this game, for me, is 3D Zelda at its best. Man, The Legend of Zelda is such a phenomenal series. I could gush about it for hours. Something's not right. I'm definitely missing something. Link's Crossbow, baby! The best Zelda game of all time! Woo! Yeah, baby! The game where Link shoots a crossbow! Make another one, Nintendo! But with a new Link! And you shoot Titan's fiancé! I love Crossbow! Woo!